Roderick on the Line is sponsored by Instapaper, the critically acclaimed app that saves web pages to read later. Get it now at instapaper.com or search for Instapaper in the App Store.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hi, Merlin.
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you going?
I'm pretty good. I think I sound a little hoarse.
Oh, well, don't sound a little lady horse.
Got a little pony throat.
You don't sound good. You sound hoarse.
I'm a little hoarse, I think.
Have you been, what have you been doing? Have you been eating cats?
Just the dead ones.
See, that'll make you hoarse.
I was out kind of late last night.
Oh, you were partying.
I wasn't partying.
How many Subway sandwiches did you have?
You'll have to ask them.
How many 2 a.m. Subway sandwiches?
No. I had a steak like a gentleman.
Oh, that's nice. A late steak or an early steak?
It was a medium time steak. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Yeah, it's funny. I shouldn't talk about the internet. You posted something on the internet not too long ago about
it inspired a whole new revolution in people's minds.
Yeah, now people are dressing up like steaks. Steaks and Hitler.
What did I say on the internet that anybody cared about?
Well, it was in a very short format. You recently said something along the lines. I'm not gonna touch my keyboard, but you said something along the lines of the big difference in quality is not between a cheap meal and a costly meal. It's the difference in quality between a good $15 meal and a bad $15 meal.
That's right. Yeah, I believe that.
I hope it doesn't sound like I'm pandering to say this. I think there's like maybe 12 wise things in that.
Well, it's one of the interesting things about economics, right? It's the thing that economics cannot account for is why is this $15 meal in this town the most amazing meal I've ever had, and this $15 meal across the street is like it's like eating fresh abortion.
Is it locally sourced?
How is that possible?
So it's from that old, you remember, Mother Catherine's school for dirty girls? Fresh every Tuesday.
Oh, there's a guy in a chef's hat just waiting out back.
It's another trial by fire. You'll be better now. The little one's better this way.
That's terrible. We just lost 1,000 followers.
Oh, sorry. Domini. I think abortion talk aside, and that could be a different show. I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves. I think that was very smart. And there's two parts in particular that I think are very smart. First of all, you did something, there's probably a Greek name for what you did, but you took it and you turned it.
I turned it. I twisted it. I put a little twist in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a Greek name.
Is that torsion? Is that what that's called? Or torque? What do they call that when you turn it?
The twistiness.
I was reading about the world's strongest man this week, and they say that there's a big difference. You know, you can be a little bit strong, you can be really strong, but there's some kind of I'm going to go into some scientific jargon for a minute, so forgive me.
All right, I'll plug my ears.
Some kind of scientific excitability in your muscle parts that allows them to quickly, like a great like a bunch of panzers. You get them all going in the same direction at the same time, and you can do like this guy does and lift an SUV 7 times. He's extraordinary. The first time you ever did
know what? I bet you a whole bunch of Panzers all going in the same direction could do better than just lift an SUV a couple of times.
7 times, John. 7.
Still, I think Panzers, with the applying the right amount of force to a group of Panzers.
This seems, if you'll forgive my saying a little facile, I think if you get 7 Panzers, in all fairness, you should have 7 super strong guys. I don't know. It's your show.
The thing about being the strongest man in the world is it's something that's always, you can never rest. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be the strongest man in the world for 15 years. There's
people
always
are constantly exactly. People are always picking a fight. They're like, pick up my SUV, and he's like, can't I just enjoy a meal with my family?
That's right. I'm eating here.
Aren't you?
Come on out, strong man. Come on out. Try to lift up this fucking cart of abortions I got out.
I see it being much more difficult to navigate than that. If it was just drunk guys in bars that wanted to fight you, you could handle it. In this case, it's a suburban dad who's got like a 2-year-old Vanagon, not even a Vanagon. Maybe he's got a Dodge Voyager.
It's an Aerostar.
He's got an Aerostar. Did you live in an Aerostar for a while?
I lived in an Aerostar for a while.
Now, is Aerostar the proprietary electronic service or the van?
Aerostar is a van. I think there might be a proprietary electronic service also called Aerostar. It has two great words within it. Aero, meaning air, and star, meaning star.
I learned a great thing yesterday.
Airstar.
No, it's super good. I was reading about the Zenith Space Command. The first, I was reading this, I never read gadget blogs.
Zenith Space Command, weren't they the enemies of G.I. Joe and his friends?
That's right. I think Josh just signed them. Zenith Space, they're based in Brooklyn. Don't be
Williamsburg.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually Bushwick. Is that
the guy with one eye that's little?
They call it East Williamsburg.
old school.
Just Bushwick.
The Zenith Space Command. I have to agree. This was the first kind of popular consumer remote control. And it operated.
Yeah. It made a big, huge, loud click when you touched it, and all it could do was go up in the channels.
Yeah.
It had no other controls.
Well, and when you were like us and you had 4 channels, that's not so big a deal. I had a stick. I had
4, 7, 11, 13. 4, 7, 11, 13.
I had a change in stick. So I could still observe my mother's demand that I not sit in front of the idiot box. So I'd be just slightly away from the idiot box, and I had a turning stick. It was kind of like having a helper monkey. Well, that was expressed as a loud click. I remember people had these, old people would hang on to these TVs. Remember the giant like console TVs? You know, have a record player in it and stuff.
Sure, a record player on one side, and then a
bar, maybe
a wet bar that's shaped like a globe on the other side.
A minstrel show. It was amazing. And so, but I think the big click is what you hear. But then there's like I don't want to say ultrasonic. I'm not a scientist, but then there's like a pitch that the TV picks up. It's pretty primitive, but no, like they said in this stupid article. Like how great is that for a name though? You just don't hear names like Zenith Space Command anymore.
Zenith Space Command.
Yeah. It's a pretty good name. How did I get away from? I got away from muscles.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't buy a white Trans Am.
Was this the one that you were? Is it really white? It looks like it's very like a light silver. Is that really white?
I think it's a white Trans Am.
Oh, and does it come with the vanity front plate bone?
I think that might be.
Might be proprietary.
I think the vanity plate, like the guy's going to keep the vanity plate, or maybe that's just something he slapped on there because of that weird Craigslist thing where people are afraid that if you see their license plate, you're going to steal their identity. Have you noticed this on Craigslist now?
I'm noticing it right this second because he looks like he has used Photoshop to gray out his electric meter.
Yeah, people. Did
you notice that? It looks like he's got a cap on it.
I see it now. People fog out the weirdest stuff on Craigslist because they're like, "Oh, somebody's going to steal my identity. They can see like my electric meter."
Remember when that started? There was a very famous thing that happened in the early days of eBay that was one of the first.
Where the guy was selling a silver electronics, and he kept taking pictures of it, and then only later did people realize that you could see his erection in the.
Yeah. There's only so much you can ascribe to the parallax effect. It was a very, very heavy man. I don't know if it's just the concave nature of a pot, but he was good and obvious that he was.
It was really just.
It was all together.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should have read further on this. So John sent me something earlier today. It sounds to me like I don't want anybody to steal this out from under you, so we won't provide too many details.
Right.
But let's just say that somewhere out there may be an apparently white Burt Reynolds looking Trans Am.
A 1977 Pontiac Trans Am, and it's got a rebuilt 400 motor. It's white.
It's making it very searchable now, John.
Silver Firebird on the hood. It
looks so heavy.
It's very heavy.
Yeah, we had a Pontiac Catalina, and it was very heavy. Yeah.
What year?
Oh my gosh, Pontiac Catalina. It was really ugly green color. I could probably find it. It was really.
Zeroing in on it. I'm guessing what year.
Well, I found out. I was writing something about my late father, and a nice memory I have of being in that car. And so I went out and actually did some research. I could probably dig it up. You know, there's sites where you can find out all kinds of stuff. It's very like my cousin Vinny stuff about exactly what was available on certain cars.
Oh,
so you could find out if this guy's a scoundrel. Like you could find out if this is actually his
electric meter. No, this seems right. Mm-hmm. This car seems right. I mean,
is Everett a place you trust people in Everett in general?
Everett is not a place you can trust people. Everett, Washington is the home of what used to be the home of the USS Abraham Lincoln and all of its crew. But I think the Lincoln has rotated out, and now they have like the USS. I don't know. Maybe the Nimitz is up there. But for whatever reason, it's a Navy town. It's full of sailors, and I'm guessing that is who owns this white 77 Trans Am.
Man.
With the license plate that says bone. But
what do you think? What do you think he rejected when he was there at the store and looking at license plates? Are there ones he looked at and said, "No, that's a little too pussy"? Or were there anything he looked at where he went, "No, I don't know if I can live up to, Ribeye Jack or something"?
I bet you he went in there looking for bone, and he found bone.
Yeah.
I don't think he had a list. I think he was like bone.
Is it a suggestion?
Well, it's not. The thing is, it's not a real license plate. It just says USA on the top and then bone. So it's like a front plate in a state where you're not required to have plates on the front.
That's where it would always go. Yeah. In Ohio, you didn't have to have that either.
Yeah. I think this is the type of thing where if you're a runaway and you are sitting on your suitcase in front of a motel in the morning,
you can't afford bus fare,
and there's a white Trans Am or a silver Trans Am with the vanity plate bone. Do you, as a runaway, does this look like an opportunity to you, or does this look like a potential grave?
It depends on which Thin Lizzy song is playing. If it's the boys are back in town, I'm going to think twice and maybe stay on the suitcase. I got to tell you, whiskey in the jar, I might hop in.
Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. You know what? You just condensed it pretty well.
Well, it's off the top of my head, but I really like that version of Whiskey in the Jar. It's very creative. I mean, I guess some people are familiar with the Metallica version via Thin Lizzy, but I was also familiar with, it's an old folk song. It's a widely, heavily covered, folk song.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I'm looking more closely at this ad.
I have so much to say about this ad, and I'm holding a lot back. Please go ahead.
If you look in at the cockpit photograph, how many pink Christmas tree air fresheners does he have hanging from his stereo knob? Can you count them?
Oh, I haven't looked at the other ones yet. So he shows you. He's got little trees.
How many trees?
It's hard to tell on this monitor. I see at least 2.
No, I'm seeing more. I'm seeing 3, possibly 4. Now, if you need 3, possibly 4 pink Christmas tree air fresheners.
I see the one you mean. He's got 4 air fresheners in his car, and he's got some what are those called? He's got some Japanese anal beads hanging from his Wu-Tang charm.
He does. He has anal beads hanging from his rearview mirror. But you have to expect with the vanity plate bone that something's going to be hanging from the rearview mirror.
It does what it says on the tin.
It's the Christmas tree air fresheners that are freaking me out. Because I don't know what flavor pink is, but I'm guessing it's like vanilla.
No. I think it's berry. I was very into the green ones. Now, in this guy's defense, and I haven't met this guy at all. I've never been to Everett. But I must tell you that in my 1970 Volkswagen bus, I would accumulate those. As you do. Like some people have garters or restraining orders, and I would let my green trees, you know what I mean?
Did you also hang the tassel from your cap at graduation?
Human teeth. I did. I totally did. Well, 85. Exactly. Green tassel. Oh my God, green and yellow. Nobody looked good in our colors.
Your tassel. Your high school colors were green and yellow? And I never envied green and yellow.
You know what? We have so much to talk about in this ad, and we have a lot of things to cover here. So it is an automatic, though, right? Oh God, that's sweet.
Well, that era, they stopped putting manual transmissions in cars.
You're just going to need a stick to wipe the ladies off the side.
The problem is, can you legitimately put a child safety seat in a Trans Am like this?
I think it'll reject it like a bad kidney.
And it's not like
it's a two-door, Dan.
I'm afraid it's a raising Arizona type of situation where I would just be something bad would happen. Did you just call me Dan?
I'm cutting all that out. I'm actually literally cutting that out. Don't worry, 1337. I got that. I'll cut this out. Don't talk anymore. Now I'm gonna leave him in. Fuck you.
Off button.
Okay, to answer your question, there's several things about this that we need to talk about.
Child safety seat. Obviously, there are no airbags in a car like this. There are probably no safety features of any kind.
I think it actually shoots a bong at you.
When you get into a crash, it's like a cat of 9 tails starts swinging around inside.
And there's several things to point out. I don't like to bring up a sore memory for you, but you remember what happened.
Like that time when you called me Dan a few minutes ago?
As with the bluing problem on your father's gun, if I may say.
Right.
I want to point out a few things about this. I think the anal beads on the Wu-Tang Clan symbol are not original. I think the trees are aftermarket. No way did you get that particular shitty 80s cassette deck on this. And what is the deal with the prismatic background on the dash control area? Do you think that's stock?
That's stock.
What's that called? What do they call that in the features, do you think?
That is called metal grate finish, or metal plated is what they call it. I mean, obviously it's a sticker, but they call it.
It's a pretty badass looking sticker.
It is. It's pretty.
Doesn't it have a feeling? I don't know if you ever went to Disney properties, but it's got kind of a Tomorrowland feeling. Like, in the future, your car will be shiny inside.
Zenith Space Command.
Yep.
That's what it says.
And then you got what else? You got the trees on your mirror so your car won't smell. You got, what else we got here? I don't know, John. I think you should go out and tender an offer. Have you checked in?
Condom wrappers on the passenger side floor.
I think he went out and specifically bought a bottle of
Armor All.
Because this, I would slide right off those seats. That's just way too shiny for me.
Yeah, he has Armor All the hell out of this thing. But that is what you do.
When you put your daughter's child seat in the back of this extremely dangerous vehicle,
yeah,
I would maybe scuff it up a little bit. I would break in the seats a little. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you maybe go in there. It doesn't have to be sandpaper.
The thing is, every time you hit the highway, you got to spin the tires. You got to kick dirt up. You have to. There's a lot of responsibility owning a car like this.
I think it brings expectations.
Either that, or I found this the last time I owned a motor vehicle with a very large engine, one of those engines that sounds intimidating. Like, you don't even have to see the vehicle; you just hear it like. One of those cars. It's a very, very satisfying feeling to have a car that makes that sound, because when you roll onto someone's street, if they're expecting you to arrive, they hear that sound before they see you, and it's everywhere you go, you're just sort of blanketing the world with your power.
Yeah,
but in any case,
people can hate you a lot sooner than other people. Here comes that guy.
But when I owned that car, I realized that I no longer needed to drive fast. That, in fact, the real power move was to drive incredibly slow. And everywhere I went, I just basically drove at idle speed. The car would just putter along at 15 miles an hour. And everybody else on the road was like too afraid to honk. It was a great life.
Yeah, but the funny part is, it wasn't like you just gave people like some idiot, some bald middle-aged guy starting his Harley going, rah! It's like, right. In this case, you're just plugging along, looking at people a little bit too long, and they're going, could you please drive a little faster?
and I would sit way down in my chair.
Of course you did.
So my nose was just on the windowsill. I looked like an R. Crumb drawing of some guy in the 70s with big nose sticking out the window.
Here's my thing to you. First of all, yes, you should go out and look at this. Maybe bring a mechanical or someone pretend. You should bring Jason, have him pretend to be a mechanic, see if this guy freaks, right? And then if you buy this, and I think you should, he's got an oboe on here. It says 6,900 oboe, so you might be able to talk him down. Interesting trade, maybe. I'm just saying. I think you can bring the price. Oh, did I say what the price was?
No.
Okay, I think you could probably talk him down just a little. It depends on the condition. Now, in that. And then B, here's my promise to you. If you send me proof that you have bought this from him, the pink slip, as they say, I will literally buy you a copy of Jailbreak today on cassette and send it to you. Is it Jailbreak? Cassette? I think it's on Jailbreak, right? Whiskey in the Jar?
Pretty sure. That is a cassette player. You're right.
Well, and it's got those 80s knobs that you can tell.
I need to get my Iron Maiden cassettes out of my gym bag.
Did I ever send you that photo of the Melted Highway to Hell cassette that I found in our garage?
I don't think so, but my friend... Wait a minute, I've already said too much.
No, okay.
No, I have a friend. He's a good friend. You know him, or you know of him, an artist. And he is making a coffee table book of certain kind of cassette. It's going to be very beautiful. I've already said too much. There's somebody right now racing out to get a tumbler of this idea, and I want you to stop doing that, whoever you are. Because it's my friend's idea.
Fuck yeah, cassettes.
Fuck yeah, cassettes. This is the last thing I'm going to say about this Craigslist ad, but he has made the classic error of saying too much to list, but he did not put 2 letter O's in the first 2. So it looks like too much to list. He's made a classic Craigslist spelling error, which makes me think that you can
trust him.
I can really, not only can I trust this guy because he's a real American, but I can also chip him down on the price because he's a dummy.
Yeah, you should offer to help him with his commas too.
Yeah,
but, this is not. You know what? This is not a comma worrying car. This is where you put your comma worries behind. You get down. You put the fucking seat down. You drive like a gentleman. You jam out to a little bit of Phil Lynott.
You drive like a gentleman, and then perhaps Sally Field is standing on the side of the road in a wedding dress. To me, she's like Audrey Hepburn, or maybe like Diana Rigg, where she's all different kinds of pretty. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sally Field,
young
really
Sally Field. Oh gosh,
you know who's like a young Sally Field? A young Valerie Bertinelli.
Young, is that right?
Well, I always equated the two. I thought they had the same kind of cute as a bugness.
Mm-hmm.
Cute as a bug. Cute as a bug.
I'm not going to talk about this.
You're not going to talk about Sally Field?
No, I'm just not going to talk about women. It's awkward.
Is it? Oh, because you're married?
No. Just because, I'm.
Because you're a feminist.
A dickless wonder. That's not funny.
Oh, that's not true. You're not a dickless wonder.
I have to admit that I have been reassessing my feelings about Scarlett Johansson, and it's getting complicated.
Really?
I think she might be pretty attractive.
She's a very attractive young lady.
And she's kind of the same attractive, but like, even if you watch her when she was like practically a kid in that, one movie with Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, I stand corrected. I'm going to have to buy you I thought Whiskey in the Jar. Now listen, would you, in order to make good on my error and my promise, I'm going to send you, if I can find it, I will send you Jailbreak on cassette. And I'll also send you some like old greatest hits, if you like, or best of Thin Lizzy, if you buy this. That's only for today. It's only for today.
It's such a today only.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of tumult in Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, I know they had a lot of tumult, but it was the times.
Well, and it's another one of those things where they went in and I read this a long time ago, so I'm just scanning this now. But I think there was a lot of tumult. Brian Robertson, who was one of the big guys in the band, he wasn't getting the credit anymore.
Yeah,
it was Now, how did he die? Was he a heroin guy? A drinking guy?
There weren't any big guys in Thin Lizzy. They were all 5'6".
Is that right?
Well, it's how they chose rock stars in that era.
Roger Daltrey. You've seen Roger Daltrey. He's a modest sized man.
A height thing. It had to be smaller than this yardstick to ride this ride.
Oh, that's super interesting. Like maybe the dressing rooms were like 3/4 size, like a cello.
I think it was before that era in America when everyone was eating macaroni and cheese and tab and drinking and becoming like super large, like people of the future. There were still a lot of people from the past who didn't have access to the vitamins that were in macaroni and cheese and tab, and they were small people. They were maybe immigrant people that were from countries where they didn't have vitamins, and so things were scaled differently. Cars were smaller. This is before cars.
Well, you go anywhere, you see roads used to be narrower. What's crazy to me is how narrow like our garage door is. Given that it was built in the 20s.
Yeah, it's insane.
I don't know how you fit a car into that thing.
Well, first of all, you have to have a Volkswagen Jetta. Because the Volkswagen Jetta it's
a perfect size. It's
designed to be the same size as a Model T.
You know what's nice, John, is if you ever come here and want to get in our garage, can I tell you the great part? This is a very wide car. This has a wider than normal wheelbase on the 77 Trans Am. Is that correct? It's a pretty wide wheelbase.
I'm going to say it's wide in order to maintain stability at high speeds. Yes.
The good part is for you to get that into your garage, you'd have to go real slow.
Thing is, in my neighborhood, like I would be not even the 15th most intimidating vehicle on the street, just right around my house, because everybody down here is driving a villain car.
What's a villain car?
Well, the classic modern villain car is the Chrysler 300, the new like gangster car. You know the Chrysler 300. You know the car I'm talking about.
I'm gonna know it in a second.
Yeah, the Chrysler 300 is the new gangster car, and you can customize it in a variety of ways.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah. But there's a guy around the corner that owns a Ford Ranchero, like a early 70s Ranchero that's all rusty, and he doesn't even have a muffler, and the guy next to me has Patrick, the guy that comes out every once in a while and shoots his gun in the air. He's got one of those Dodge pickup trucks, like a Ram pickup truck that you need a stepladder to climb into it, and like everywhere I look around here, the only thing we don't have is like a Toyota pickup with a machine gun mounted at the back. But if I had a white Trans Am. I would go back to the top of the pile in this neighborhood. I used to be on the top of the pile because I had 6 cars parked out in front of my house, and everybody knew I was a player. But I gave some of those cars to the people that train capuchin monkeys to help disabled people. And now I've fallen in my neighbor's esteem. I'm just a guy.
You were the guy with cars on his lawn?
I was, yeah. I was the guy with like 6 cars out front.
Some of them were covered. Some of them were on blocks.
No, there were none that were covered. They were all covered with pine needles. There was
raccoons living inside.
Mold growing in the rubber of the
raccoons will totally live in a car. You know that, right?
You know, the other day, I was sitting in my kitchen. I was actually standing in my kitchen. There's no place to sit in my kitchen. I was standing in my kitchen window, and I look out the window, and here comes a raccoon. And it's the middle of the day, this is not customary for a raccoon to walk through your yard in the middle of the day.
Mm-mm.
She's just right out in the open, too. And I'm like, that's unusual. What are you doing? And then I see trailing behind her is a little baby raccoon. And so I'm watching them, and then there's a second baby raccoon. And so the mom is like 3/4 of the way across my yard by this point. And then there's a third baby raccoon. And the third raccoon is like, he's sniffing his little nose in every dandelion. He's taking his sweet time, burbling across the yard. Mom's all the way halfway across the yard. The first raccoon's right behind her. First baby's right behind her. The second one's kind of, loping along. But this third one, he's a real dreamer, this guy. And he's sniffing and he's looking. And then there's a fourth baby raccoon. And the fourth raccoon, he's a real rebel. This one's a poet. You know what I mean? Like he's looking in overturned coffee cans. He's fully 100 feet behind his mom.
Can I guess which one you identified with?
So I watch these raccoons loping across my yard in the middle of the day. And, of course, I say, this cannot stand. I cannot allow this.
It broke the uneasy détente.
So I race out the front door. And the mother raccoon had to make a choice because the 2 lopers were far enough behind her that I was coming out the front door and I was going to get in between them. And so she made some raccoon sound, and all the babies turned and ran up my catalpa tree. But she stayed on the ground.
Uh-oh.
So, and she kind of went back and got in a position where she was between me and the barn.
You deliberately went and stood between a mother raccoon and her lopers.
Well, I didn't get right in between them, but I wanted to press this issue. I wanted to teach.
You wanted to do a flanking maneuver.
I wanted to teach those loping raccoons that there are consequences to being a poet.
Are you always finding great articles on the web you'd love to read but just don't have the time? Instapaper saves web pages for reading later for iPad, iPhone, Android, and Kindle. You can read when you're waiting online, riding the bus, eating breakfast, or lying in bed. You can even read offline, great for when you're on a plane or the subway and don't have an internet connection. Pages are shown without clutter or distractions. You can adjust the text to a comfortable size and font and much more. Read more and read better by reading later with Instapaper. Get it now at instapaper.com or search for Instapaper in the App Store.
And I wanted that mother raccoon to recognize that she had lost control of the situation. And
this is helping so many animals.
This was going to be a learning experience for everybody. So I got out in the yard, and she's by the barn, and she's got a very concerned look on her face. And the babies are all up the tree. And I don't know if you have much experience watching raccoons hide in a tree, where they hide in plain sight.
They can sit real still.
Yeah,
I've watched the raccoons go up a tree. My daughter and I have tried to, like, the raccoons in that park across the street. They go straight up a tree. I know exactly where they live, and even when they're staring at me, I still can't see them, and they don't move.
Exactly. Yeah, they grab onto the tree, and they just kind of turn their bodies in such a way that they become part of the tree. And you can be looking at them, and they'll just disappear like a Cheshire cat. But in any case, these baby raccoons, they understood the concept of this, but they have not learned exactly how to do it. So all 4 of them are up kind of right where a raccoon would go to hide. in the crook of a branch or whatever, and they kind of try and hide, but they're plainly visible. They are not fooling me.
Rookies. And
after a few minutes of being in the tree, they can't resist starting to play with each other and try and knock each other out of the tree, and they start roughhousing in the tree. So the mom is over here, the babies are in the tree, I'm in between them, and I sat down on the grass, and I started to explain in a very calm voice to the mother that I had no evil plan.
I'm merely here to teach.
I said, listen, this is all going to turn out okay. This is just a moment of anxiety in your life, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to look at your babies because it's fun. I'm going to look at these 4 baby raccoons in the tree. I'm going to watch them. I'm going to have fun doing it. I'm going to keep talking to you in a calm voice. You're fine and I'm fine and they're fine. And so we spent about 20 minutes with her, like, and she's nursing, right? She's got her little teats are
pendulous.
And she never relaxed, I wouldn't say, but she calmed down to the point where she was like, okay, this is not an attack scenario. He's sitting in the grass, but it's still not a very cool scene. And the babies were just having the time of their life by this point, climbing all around the tree, slap boxing each other. And after a while, I realized, okay, I think I've made my point. You raccoons are welcome here in my yard, but there needs to be order. There need to be some rules. And so I said to her, I'm going to get out of your way. I'm going to stay here in the yard, but I'm going to get out of the way of this scene. And so I backed up and I sat down in the grass a little bit further, and she made this imperceptible sound. And all 4 of the raccoon babies, who had, been like off in their world. I mean, they weren't looking at her. They were kind of looking at me, but they were really just goofing around in the tree. All of a sudden their ears all went up, and one by one they went face first down the trunk in a very orderly line. And then the parade went off over the fence and behind the barn. It was a very nice moment. And I feel like those raccoons that were a little dreamy, they still have their dreams.
There's just so many lessons in that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a little choked up.
They still have their dreams.
It's hard when you're a parent. It's hard when you're a parent.
They're gonna suck it up when they're moving during day. When they're cross country during the daytime. This is something I'm going to teach my daughter. Mm-hmm. When we are moving cross country during the day, you suck it up. You get on my heels.
No grab ass in the tree.
That's right. You're not sniffing in coffee cans. Mm-mm. I want your eyes on my shoelaces. Is what I want.
No tertsarimas. I need 2 right here. Come on, Dante.
2.
Let's make this happen.
2. Boom.
And do you lay low? Do you do that thing where you like stoop and run really fast, like you're like there's a sniper? How do you move around during the day, if you can say? Do you just get in your Trans Am and just lay low? I mean, that's a very loud vehicle. Are you hiding in plain sight? How does that work?
When I'm on foot during the day, I hug the wall.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, but when I'm in the car during the day, no, you hide in plain sight. Mm-hmm. You're the guy whose motor is saying,
you're the Cheshire Coon.
Look away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you still. I'm driving by real slow. I'm still looking at you.
God, the amazing part is, there are so many people in your neighborhood who are so busy with their Chrysler 300s, they would not take the time to sit down and explain something to a mother raccoon and then teach a lesson to the raccoon poet babies. But it's amazing to me that not only can you share that wisdom just vocally, and I don't know if you were using mind bullets or specific, what was the vocalizations that you did this with?
Well, see, I was speaking to her in this voice.
It's very calming.
It's very calm. I was like, I recognize right now that I am in between a mother raccoon and her babies. Mm-hmm. And that is not strictly advisable. It is not something I would tell a 10-year-old to do. But I feel like in this situation, my calm talking is going to make everything happen according to plan.
And you give her something to think about. You know, it's a lesson, but it's something where when she scurries back up her own catalpa tree, is that how you pronounce it?
Catalpa, yeah.
Catalpa, okay. And when she goes up her tree, if I may say, she'll have a minute, after she's put the poets to bed, she'll have some time to think a little bit and reflect.
Yeah. She'll, you know what I wanted her to think about? She was thinking about the next fence She was thinking about how to get across the street, and she wasn't thinking about that last poet baby. She was future fucking.
You want her
person.
thinking about that previous fence and the space in between, because she's just blowing right through there like it's normal.
Well, I want everybody in my neighborhood, raccoons and crows included, to recognize that the area within my fence is a special zone.
You made it. Do I remember correctly? I don't know if you ever finished it. Did you actually make a white picket fence yourself?
I do have a white picket fence in the front, which is kind of a Trojan horse. The white picket fence is very inviting. It makes the house look very friendly to the street. It says the person who lives here is a safe person.
It's kind of like an urban gingerbread house.
It's a little gingerbread. That's right. And then every other fence in my house is booby trapped. all the other sides.
Let me guess, different booby traps.
Oh, 100%.
If you use electricity for everything, the foxes are going to get your hens.
Yeah,
they're going to figure that out. They're wily. Raccoons are really smart and they're really heavy. They can do a lot of damage. They've just discovered our compost can outside. It's San Francisco, so you get a compost thing.
Right.
And so now every night we can hear them. They figured out how to knock it over. I don't know. I've lived here for 12 years and I never had this until like this week. So maybe this is one of those crow things, John. Maybe the word's going to spread. And again, let's take this to the 100th monkey level. You want to open your scallop, you throw it off the cliff, right? In this instance, this could be a raccoon. And I don't know if they're loners. I mean, obviously the poets probably spend a lot of time masturbating, and reading Bukowski. But if she goes out and talks to other raccoons, that's going to save you the trouble of having to do that again. It becomes a kind of raccoon folk wisdom that she isn't able to share. Maybe as far as Everett. Maybe nobody's ever going to go into that Trans Am because they understand that there's an implied fence there.
Here's the thing about raccoons. If you can see a raccoon, there are 4 raccoons you can't see.
Oh, okay.
There are always more raccoons than you think.
Like roaches or business people.
Right. Although I would never characterize. I have the utmost respect for raccoons, and I would put roaches and business people in a separate class.
I'm going to come back to that, if you don't mind.
But raccoons and crows, I feel, are very similar to one another in the sense that they are territorial, but they also travel in groups, and they're thinking ahead in most cases. And I think this mother raccoon and her babies are all going to be now forward thinking. They're always going to have one eye looking out. You know what I mean?
Raccoons, like crows, like any of these, it's like how I find myself attracted to a certain kind of superhero. Like, I'm not that into a superhero that's just strong, that's just fast, that's just wily. I like the combination. And in this case, it's kind of like you got the strength of the Hulk, right? You got the wiliness of somebody who's not the Hulk.
You want a little bit of sarcasm in a superhero. I'm guessing.
Absolutely. You know what? Bordering on cockiness. And maybe you fall down, but you get back up. Now, how seriously are you taking this car thing?
That's some Chumbawamba realism right there. Here's the thing.
Well, I'm sorry. Before you say that, if I could say roughly, now I don't want to bring up an old wound, if you can do that. But your van blew up a while back. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I'm still devastated.
That's a shame. I bet it still smells like farts anywhere it had been near, though.
No. I'm sure they've cleaned out all the farts and they're using it to transport capuchin helper monkeys somewhere.
But, you gave that to the helper monkey people.
Yeah, it's full of monkeys right now.
Was it burnt around the front part? Was it like the engine seize up, or what happened?
No, it was a situation where at 300,000 miles the Ford transmission just ate itself.
That's a goddamn shame. That's it. That's all you got out of it.
Yeah, I know, right? And the engine absolutely is still running. The Triton V10 motor, great motor. I would put it in. Is
that a 10-cylinder engine?
That's correct.
Oh,
it was a 10-cylinder engine. And I would put that in any powerboat I was building. It's a great motor, and I'm sure that they replaced the transmission on this thing, and it went to live on a farm. It went to live on a monkey farm, and they're driving around. It's probably the vehicle they use to teach the monkeys to drive.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Let's be honest. Yeah. If the monkeys wanted to go on tour, if they put out another record and wanted to go on tour, it would probably not be something you'd want to put a lot of miles on. You'd have to refurbish a lot of things. But you know what? It's like a fucking capuchin golf cart. It's fine for getting around the compound.
You drive around the compound.
The dog. The thing is, if you're like a seeing eye dog, you get tired. You walk a lot. You have to bark. Like if you have a differently hearing person, like you have to let them know that's a doorbell, that's a microwave. You're ready to rest. They might have to take them from one area to another.
I'm sure that that's what's happening. I have no doubt in my mind that
It's occupational therapy. That's what it is.
And I left all of the all access passes from 15 years of touring that we had plastered all inside the van. They're all still there, and I'm sure the monkeys treasure them.
But you get Tinkerbell out safe and sound.
And they think to themselves, wow, can you imagine what it would have been like to be backstage at a Decemberist concert in 2003? Oh, dreams.
Being chided for eating their crudité.
Dreams.
In as much as you can say, what is your current vehicular situation?
Well, so currently I have the choice of 3 hoopties. One hoopty is a 2000 Volkswagen Jetta with a V6 motor.
What color?
And a 5-speed. It's black, which is the color of all Jettas. And that is the car. I'm
sorry, John, I don't want to interrupt you. Approximately how many miles? What's the condition?
It's got about 80,000 miles, and it's in fairly decent condition, I would say. That is the car that I use to zip around. If I'm leaving the house and I'm like, I'm going to be zipping around today, I take the zip around car.
Okay.
And then there is the 1997 Chrysler LHS model, large sedan that only an old person would buy. It is a car that you have to. I think you have to be 75 years old to buy it from the showroom.
Is that power windows?
Power windows, power brakes, leather seats. This is a car that I inherited from my dad. At one point, I was the band Mumford and Sons had come to Seattle, and after the show, they were like, "Right, we're in Seattle. Let's go get some Seattle food, and it's late at night, and we're going to have a great Seattle time."
You just took a lingual tour of England. You just went in one sentence, went to like 5 different cities in England.
And I said,
he stopped in Yorkshire for a minute.
Come on, Mumford and Sons.
Pile into my
Chrysler LHS. And so we're driving around Seattle, and they are all 4 of them in the back seat of this car, sliding around on the big leather couch, and they are marveling at American cars, and they're like, "This car is so big, it's so amazing. Look at all the room, and it's got power windows, and it's got power seats, and we're sliding around with just a merry bunch of Englishmen."
Brilliant.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Wow! And I was like, "You English people are so cute and charming." And we drove around in the car. They didn't want to go to a restaurant. They just wanted to drive around in my big American car and play slap and tickle with each other in the backseat. It was hilarious. So that's the
Hoopty 2. We have again. What year? I'm sorry.
It's a 97. It's blue-green. It's a car that I get into a lot of arguments with my mom about, because I say, I'm taking the blue car, and she says, it's green.
Oh.
And I say,
women have better sense of a color. What a color is.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I say, this is not a green car. This is a blue car. It is blue-green, but it is blue-green shading to blue. And she says,
it's amazing you can't get your records finished.
She says, you are wrong. It is blue-green shading to green, and therefore it is a green car. And I say it is a blue car. We have never resolved this.
I'm trying to find out right now. It appears that the 1997 Chrysler LH, I'm going here by the colors of touch-up paint that you can get. Would you agree that is a fair?
Yeah, I'd say. All right.
Okay. Well, the ones that we think we can rule out is drama gold, metallic.
It's not that. It's not that.
Black crystal stone white.
No.
Bright platinum metallic, right?
No.
Right out, as they say in England. Wildberry pearl, which is going to be my new pole dancer name. Candy apple red. Oh, I love candy apple red.
That was my favorite Grateful Dead record.
Husker Du. Nice try. We got deep amethyst up against deep amethyst pearl v spruce pearl metallic. Deep amethyst pearl is clearly like a midnight blue. At least here with my color settings on my monitor. And spruce pearl metallic is like almost a slightly darker Gumby green. So do you have a sense? I can send you the URL for this.
Well,
I could be wrong. This could just be touch-ups. Maybe people, you know what? Maybe people who get blue almost green paint don't need touch-up paint.
I'm wondering if it isn't spruce, but let me look here.
Well, you know what? It might have a patina.
It definitely has a patina.
97 Chrysler LHS sedan. I can cut all this out. Don't worry.
You know what? It might be the spruce.
Let me ask you a question. Crown Victoria.
Yeah. What about it?
Well, what is the one thing that everybody knows about a Crown Victoria?
It is a taxi cab.
I think of it as being the cop car.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, right. All right. It is
Crown
also
Vic,
a
Crown
cop
Vic.
car. Sure.
Yeah. But I mean, like you see a Crown Vic, if you're somebody who looks in the rearview mirror a lot and does so to see if it's a cop behind you, you get real good at knowing. For example, in the 80s, you could learn like, oh, that's a ski rack versus that's flashing lights. You know, if you were somebody that had a lot of weed in your car, you'd learn square headlights. You got to start checking. If they're rectangular headlights, you need to be looking out. You learn what a Crown Vic's headlights look like.
Right.
You know,
Except
if they're round, it's probably
80s,
some fruity European.
In the 80s, of course, all cop cars were Chevy Caprices.
I'm going to have to look that up. But here's what I'm saying. All I'm going to say is this. When I see a Crown Vic, I know it's a cop car.
Right.
I see a Chrysler LHS. That's not a cop car, but I think that might be a cop's car. In this case, yes, it was owned by an attorney. But in looking at the Chrysler LHS page on Wikipedia, which is an internet site, it looks very much to me like the first and second generation Chrysler LHS.
Right.
1997 is when it looks like they redid it in 99 is when and the new ones look a little bit almost like a Fiat, like a what do you call that glandular problem, you know?
Oh, a pregnant porpoise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like an Andre the Giant car or a Joey Ramone. This looks so much like a cop's car.
The LHS is very much a cop's car or a cop's wife's car, and it's a car that is so featureless that it is the ultimate blend-in car. Like I used to drive when I had that van. The van is a total blend into it blends into industrial areas. If you're driving that van, especially the one that I had with tinted windows, if you're driving that van through a suburban neighborhood, every mom comes out and ushers her kids back inside.
No question.
But if you're driving,
it totally had that vibe. It's a little bit too innocuous. Yeah. It's either going to be some kind of, if I may say, a government spy, or probably somebody who's a little bit rapey.
Well, it can't be a little rapey. But let's not get into that.
Circle back to that.
But in Seattle, for instance, there's a river called the Duwamish River, and there are factories lining the river all the way along. And one of my favorite things to do late at night is to drive down into, because the factories, you can drive down into them and then drive kind of through them along the river and go from one factory to the next. It's not a place. It's a place where forklifts are. It's not a place where anyone would ever think to drive. So it hasn't occurred to anybody to block it off, because you're actually just driving through factories while they're making lead ingots or whatever they do in factories. and at 2:00 in the morning, it's the night shift. There are guys down there. They're making sparks. A lot of these factories, all they do late at night is just make sparks. There's just a guy with
is that for export?
It's just like he's got a carbide saw blade, and he's just sawing lead ingots and just making sparks. I'm convinced that that's all they do.
That sounds like a New Deal make work project.
It is.
It's time to go down to the Sparks factory.
You feel like you're in a Billy Joel video from the mid '80s. There's some guy with a hard hat, and it's like 3:00 in the morning. He's just making sparks. So I used to drive my van down through these factories, and you would go in through the loading door.
They just wave you through.
Yeah, you drive through this like 50,000 square foot building where there are a dozen guys making sparks, and by the time they look up from their carbide saws and go, "What the fuck was that?" I'm already out the door on the other side and driving through the next building, and I'm going really slow, right? Just boom, 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 boom. And in that van, I looked like I was on official business. I looked like I was a guy that belonged there. I was there delivering new carbide bits. And so I never got challenged. Security guards, they don't even wave you through. They just don't look. They don't even see.
Oh, like I don't even have to check that badge. I just know there's a badge.
I would just drive right past these guys, kind of give them a little nod. They'd kind of give me a nod. And by the time they were like, "Who is that?" I was already like 100 feet down through the building. And I used to love that. It was one of my favorite late night activities. But when the van went away, try doing that in a black Jetta.
As you know, we have a similar car in that we have a black Jetta, and no matter, you look like you're hiding something with a black Jetta.
A black Jetta does not belong there. A black Jetta looks like you have pulled over looking for a place to do a little line of crystal meth off of your key.
That's not true. The problem is you don't belong. You're a man without a country in a black Jetta.
The only place that you belong is at like a Morrissey concert. Parked in the parking lot, doing bumps of shitty crystal off of your key.
No.
The black Jetta means nothing.
What's the next one up? A Passat, right?
A Passat.
I think a Passat can be a super classy ride. I think it's what my lady would probably like to have if she had a more successful husband. But we have a mutual friend who's quite well to do that has a very, very nice Passat. That's what he chooses to drive. It's a very, very comfortable car. Now the problem is, the reason I say this, it's like you've discussed in the past, and I'm sorry to derail you. I have a couple more questions about locks, and I want to hear about your third hoopty. But just quickly, you've mentioned in the past that you felt like you were never in any nerd camp. You were so nerdy that you weren't a nerd, right? You didn't even fit in with this group over here, that you didn't align yourself with the D&D people or with the fantasy people.
I was old-fashioned nerd, which meant that I tried to learn big words and I liked to read books. I did not believe,
and thought it was working.
And thought that adults, when I was a 10-year-old, I believed that adults considered me a peer.
I thought I was working from the inside. When it's like that story, Paul's Case, remember that short story about the kid who wants to go be fancy and he goes out and steals money and becomes fancy. I was like that. I absolutely thought there's no question I fit in. I'm at least as smart as all of these people. Look, I know words like anti-disestablishmentarianism.
That's right. Serendipity. Yes, serendipity. I have used
that. Did you
that
pronounce it wrong, though?
There are so many words I pronounced wrong.
I said serendipity for a long time.
The other day I was driving along with a friend and I said, well, we certainly have a Darth of options. And she said,
there can only be two Sith.
I said, did you say Darth of options? And I said, yeah, we have a Darth of options. She said, I believe it's pronounced Dearth.
Fuck you. Did I pronounce that right?
I said, fuck you. I said, fuck you. Fuck you, bookie.
I imagine you shot the Roderick eyes and said, I know how to pronounce it.
No, I didn't do that. I said, I'm pretty sure that this is one of those words that has multiple acceptable pronunciations.
Here's the thing.
And the problem is she has an electronic phone.
Oh, brother.
And was putting it in my face where it did not say two acceptable pronunciations. It said Darth is the acceptable pronunciation.
You don't know where that phone has been. That could have been easily tampered with.
That's right. Anyway, I felt in that situation that honor, compelled me to admit in this one instance that maybe she had a point.
Well,
but I'm not going to say Darth.
No, that's silly. Darth sounds way better. And I think you would say that you misspoke. It was, it's like the difference between something being lost and something being mislaid.
People who say I misspoke deserve a kick in the balls.
Is that right? And that's the word you'd use for it?
I don't believe in I misspoke.
Oh, what about mislaid and lost?
Oh, I will mislay something.
I don't like it when people say, I lost my keys. No, you lose your virginity. You mislay your keys. Well, all of a sudden I'm fucking Strunken Wilson. Strunken E.O. Wilson. Here's my only thought on this. First of all, just to close the thread on this, Crown Victoria, first of all, sad news. I'm sorry to have to bring it to you in this particular form. It has been discontinued.
I knew that.
Okay. That's a bummer. It was only around for 20 years. 92 to 2012. Crown Vic shared the Ford Panther platform. The one we've seen is called the Ford Crown Victoria Police Interceptor, which is a fucking cool name. That's up there with like a Space Explorer.
Yeah, those cars, you can drive those cars into the ocean and they will be fun.
You go out and try to buy a phone, and seriously, you will see like on the poster, it's called like the Lexus Nexus 35150 Release 6 or whatever. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Police Interceptor, only full frame rear wheel drive passenger sedan, having been built in North America and was popularly used in taxi cab, fleet, and police service vehicles. So yes, I think we can share the credit on that one.
Well, and the thing is now cops are using all kinds of like these Dodge hot rods that look like coke dealer cars. Like they're not driving around anymore in Crown Vics where you're like, that's a cop. Whoop, cops!
Are they still kind of anonymous in silhouette? I think that's important.
Well, it's worse. Not only are they anonymous in silhouette, but they can come right up on your ass as happened to me the other night, as I was speeding along on a section of road that I know it is safe to speed on. And I was speeding along, and I was getting past the dumb people that I have to share the roads with around here. I was putting them behind me. And then there was a guy right on my bumper, and I was like, "Oh, this guy wants to play. Who's this guy? Uh-oh. He's right on my bumper. Holy moly, this is some aggressive 3 a.m. driving."
This is a raccoon that's ready to get an associate's degree.
So there are times in a situation like that where I will say, "All right, buddy, let's see what you got." But I was in a more like fast but calm mood. And I pulled my hoopty over one lane, and I was like, I'm going to let you go by. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you go by.
You have grown. Whoa.
I'm going to let you go by. It's 3 a.m. You're obviously you're a hot dogger. I'm going to let you get on down the road. And I pull over, and this guy pulls up next to me, and it's a fucking state trooper.
Oh,
and he pulls up right next to me, and we're both hauling ass down the road. And he glares at me. It's not quite a glare. It's like a, "You motherfucker, you really think that you can just drive whatever speed you want?" And I was like, "Oh, hello, officer."
Suddenly you're the lady coon.
And I took my foot off the gas. I didn't put on the brakes.
Were you still going fast the whole time?
Oh, we were going very fast at this point.
Oh, man.
I took my foot off the gas, and the car just kind of went, "Ooh." And as I faded back out of his, like, you know, as he lost eye contact with me, as I just sort of like, I am receding. Ooh. He like really stepped on it and flew off into the night.
What a dick.
I was like, well, he had somewhere to be, but he wanted to take a little minute to give me the juice. But the problem with it was he was in some Dodge RT. I don't even know what the hell those cars are called. It's like it's not a Challenger. It's a Dodge. What the hell is it?
Dodge police car.
He's in one of these new Dodges that looks like just a guy that
Dodge Charger, my friend.
He's in a Charger.
Dodge Coronet. Oh, no, 71 Dodge Coronet. Yeah. So yeah,
he's in a Charger.
Dodge Charger.
It's a car that any guy that just got out of the Navy is going to have.
Oh, come on! This is the same kind of car. Was this? Wait, Javelin was Starsky and Hutch, right? This was Dukes of Hazzard.
No, the Starsky and Hutch was a Ford Torino.
Who had a Javelin? Was that
I don't think anybody had an AMC Javelin.
Oh, that was my grandma. She did.
I don't think any
right.
TV cop
My grandfather
had
used to own a Nash dealership that became an AMC dealership.
Seriously?
Yeah, Cincinnati, Ohio. Mm-hmm.
A Nash dealership.
I don't know if he owned it. I mean, you can make shit like that up and kids can't check it, so I don't know.
That's
a
true.
Nash.
My dad shot down a Japanese girl with a 45.
Yeah. Profiles and courage. Boy, this is a really stupid looking car.
Yeah, but the cops are using these things now, and they're using them. They're hopping them up with all kinds of hot paint.
This car this is so chicken and waffles. This car does not know. If you go search for it on the internet, it really doesn't know what it wants to be. It's having an identity crisis.
I know a lot of people are buying them like, I'm a hot rodder, and then the cops are driving them, and then there's also like Navy wives and stuff. It's very confusing when you see these cars on the road. Like, I don't know what that is anymore.
But you know, it's either going to be boring, trouble, or both.
Well, yeah, and so I'm starting to, but you look at that, and that's kind of that headlight grille configuration. Dodge uses that on a lot of different cars. So you look in your rearview mirror, and you're like, is that a station wagon? Is it a cop? Is it it's too much and also the cops around here are driving SUVs now. It's hard to look.
It's getting harder and harder to know when you can speed.
Well, and also if a guy comes up on your back bumper, is it time for a showdown, or do you pull over to the side of the road and let it pass?
But you know, I mean, okay, so I think they're showing their hand. Exactly. I think they're showing their hand just a little bit. Because first of all, you know, it's funny. I was going to send you this photo. I went and looked at that Chrysler 300. Yeah. And the thing is, on first glance, I thought it looked like Jack Elam. It looks a little bit wall-eyed. But then if you really look at the front of it, it looks a little bit like, I don't know, like Wall-E or something.
For a long time, I thought
it's real like happy looking and wall-eyed.
At first, when that thing first came out, I was convinced that it was a Soviet car that they had discovered the plans for in some like Russian basement. It was a Politburo car.
It's got a family truckster kind of feel on the grill.
Well, and so now it does. They've monkeyed it up, and it's become like a, But when that car first came out, it was very sinister looking. I thought it was great styling.
Well, here's the thing on this one, and we still got to get to your third hoopty before we run out of time here.
Okay, right. This
particular Charger, it looks a little sinister. It looks like it's kind of like its brows are, you know what I mean? The classic kind of brows, not furrowed, but like
they made it look like it's got Japanese anime eyes.
Yes.
For a Power Ranger that is mad. Not a Power Ranger.
Right. Ultraman, maybe.
Yeah, somebody who is mad because their samurai sword is having a hard time killing robots or whatever it is. Whatever anime characters get mad about. What do they get mad about? That some furry is trying to stick the pee-pee in their butt?
Or it could be that somebody bought their daughter's underwear. Mm-hmm. Did you know about this?
Yes, you can buy Japanese girl underwear.
Well, did you know there's like a whole name for it? Let me look up panty fetish. There's a name. Here's the thing about Japan.
Yeah. The Eskimos have 50 words for snow, and the Japanese have one word for every single weird thing you can do with your penis.
The Germans, they'll just slap them together like
sure,
men's penises.
They put scheisse on the end of any of the sex thing.
Let me see here. It's a panty store. Apparently, turns out that I'm trying to find the name of this. There's actually, look, you know what? I'm just going to search for Japanese panty store. There's a store. There are stores that you can actually go to.
Yes.
And I'm doing this from memory because I only read this about 4 nights ago.
You're talking about stores you can actually go to on the internet, or stores you can actually go into a store and you open the door and the bell dings and a person comes out.
I'm going to try and pronounce this. I don't know. I can't pronounce this. Burusera. It's almost like the guy from The Godfather, Burusera.
Burusera.
Yeah, it's a Japanese word coined by combining buruma, meaning bloomers, as in the bottoms of girls' gym suits, and serafuku, meaning sailor suit. And they sell used girls' gym suits as well as school uniforms. You can buy undergarments, swimsuits. You can also buy socks, sanitary napkins, saliva, urine, and feces. And so that's a kind of store. So you can go in there. Let's say you're a kid. You want to make a little bit of extra, what is not yen? What do they got there? Yakitoris? What do they call their money there? Ducks?
Yen. They have yen.
They got a yen. Then what do they have in China? What's called in China? The
Chinese dollars.
The chong. Okay. So anyway, you go in there, you got a couple extra bot chong, and you go in and you want to buy
yen. Yen is the Japanese money.
I bet the urine. I'm just going to guess the order that these are provided in on the Wikipedia page is roughly how they're laid out in the store. Okay. Like when you go into a Disney store, the
sailor suits first.
Well, yeah. Maybe it's just socks in the front. Like when you go in the Disney store, the princess stuff is in the back, which thank God, knock on everything I own, my daughter's not into. But like that's the target, right? A lot of kids are there. Okay, here's the thing, John. Why is milk in the back of every grocery store? Because they want you to have to walk through the store to get the single most popular item. Eggs, milk, right? All the staples are in the back of the store. That's completely by design. In this case, if you want tampons, saliva, urine, and feces, you're going to have to walk through some socks and panties, and some gym suits.
Right, and you might be picking up, you'll be like, you know what, since I'm here, I'm going to grab some of these dirty socks and some of these used gym suit bottoms.
Yeah, I mean, you might have a shopping list.
A bucket of feces from a Japanese girl.
On your bukkake phone.
And the thing is, how can you prove that feces came from a Japanese girl in a sailor suit?
Here's the thing. This is going to be our fifth property.
It could be prison poop.
Schoolgirls used to openly participate in the sale of their used panties. So there's a law passed in 2004. So in 2004, it was reported that some underage girls were instead, after they were banned from selling panties, allowing their clients, called kajiseya, or sniffers, to sniff their underwear from directly between their legs.
What? Oh, those little
little minxes. Others chose to sell photos of themselves throwing in the used panties for free. Oh, you're at a swap meet? You want a beer? Buy this nut and bolt for $1 and I'll throw in a beer.
Listen, I am legally prohibited from selling you my panties. But if you pay to sniff my panties, I will throw the panties in for free.
It's a victimless crime. Yeah. So I don't know. The thing is, it seems to me that if you're driving around in a car like that, this is the kind of thing that's going to be on your mind. Are my daughter's fancy bits at a Barusera? Maybe with a photo, maybe not. You think a saliva comes like in a jar? Do you think it's attractively packaged?
Do you know how long you have to milk a little Japanese girl to get a jar of saliva?
2.5 hours.
Oh, you do know.
Well, that's accounting for the time change. Yeah. Well, they call it the Pacific Rim.
You hold up a giant lollipop.
You put a big bow around her neck.
And then, just a big bow that's holding a jar on her chin.
Right.
And you're like, here's the lolly.
Yeah. So the Japanese have 8 different words for tampon, but they don't have any words for missionary position.
Do they have
It's just never come up. It's never come up.
Do they have 8 different kinds of tampons or just 8 different words for the same tampon?
No. It's just they're very, very small. They have transistor tampons there.
Yeah.
Inscrutable.
They're small people because they don't have macaroni and cheese.
Third hoopty.
A third hoopty is another Chrysler product, because my family, although in the 80s, my family went foreign, like a lot of people did in the 80s.
You had to. They were literally falling apart on the lot. They were so bad.
There's a crisis in America, and my dad started buying Audis. And my mom she cycled through, like she had a Peugeot for a while, crazy things before she settled on.
Your mom bought a Peugeot?
Well, I kind of forced her to. There was this Peugeot 604, which is a Peugeot that you don't see anymore because they all rusted away and they didn't make very many to begin with. But it was the Charles de Gaulle
looks like a
car.
BMW.
It was a beautiful car. Beautifully made. It handled beautifully. It was very stately. The 604. And I talked my mom into buying this car because I was like, listen, I'm in high school now. We live in a nice neighborhood. We need a car that represents. We need like a foreign sedan, but I don't want us to get some Mercedes or Audi or something, or Volvo that everybody has. I want us to have and I was so crazy. I talked her into this crazy car, and she bought it. And it was one of those cars where, like, anytime you went up on the curb, you dented the titanium rims that cost $5,000 to polish and all this stuff. It was a completely impractical car, but it was very fast. In any case, we went through a bad period there in the 80s where we started buying foreign cars. But up until that point, from the 40s to the 80s, both of my parents were were Mopar people, and they always owned some kind of Plymouth or some kind of Dodge. And so anyway, I have 2 Chrysler products now, and it is because I have inherited them from my parents. But the third hoopty is a Chrysler Sebring convertible, a white Sebring convertible.
And that is like, you used to wear those Stan Smith tennis shoes. That sounds like the Stan Smith tennis shoes of cars.
I still wear Stan Smith tennis shoes, and I drive around in a white Sebring convertible, and people think that I'm gay.
Eating dinner at 3:00.
They think I am a middle-aged gay man, and I am. I am happy to be mistaken for a middle-aged gay man, because who else would drive a white convertible around Seattle?
You like to let people know that you like the top down.
With a big beard. If you were a runaway sitting on your suitcase from a motel, and I pulled up in this white Sebring convertible, you could get in and be perfectly safe, because you know what? I'm listening to Steelers Wheel on the stereo. There's nothing bad. Nothing bad can happen.
Right. You could talk about shoes and line dancing.
Right. So that's my cruising hoopty. Like, I get in that car when it's a sunny day and I'm feeling like, but it's got a V6. It's no shirker. So I cruise around the neighborhood in that, and it's also, since I live in the black neighborhood, it also gets respect from the middle-aged black guys who are like, all right, that car's got a little bit of class. Like, you're a smooth operator.
Okay.
Your shoes match your hat. If you know what I'm saying.
Is that a pubic hair thing? Your shoes. Never mind. Okay, you got 3 hoopties. You got a 2000 VW Jetta, 80K, pretty decent condition. Chrysler LHS sedan, 97, the Mrs. Cop car. You got the Chrysler Sebring. You got the Stan Smith car.
That's right.
What
I need to add to this is, I think, in 1977.
Well, It may come as no surprise. I have surmised that there's no fucking question. There is plenty of room in this lineup for a fourth hoopty with shiny, shiny seats and lots of air fresheners. You know what, though? You should go in. Do you think you have a pretty good sense of smell?
Oh, yeah. I have a sense of smell that haunts me.
For pretty much everything but yourself.
No. I recognize.
Oh, you're aware. You're aware?
I recognize that I have a very distinctive musk, which
oh my God!
Which people equate with both masculinity and also like virility, sexual.
You have these amazingly Victorian euphemisms that you only use when discussing yourself.
And I have found over the years that my old shirts are prized by young women in the Northwest. If they can get their hands on one of my old shirts, they wear it to bed at night, and they luxuriate in that musky smell, and they say, I would like to make babies.
Have you thought about opening a modest store?
Well, it occurred to me the other day to sell my shirts on the internet.
Or saliva.
But I'm not going to sell my saliva.
That's all yours. Nobody gets that.
But the question of selling your shirts on the internet is, do I stay anonymous and say, like, I'm just a guy who's got some shirts for sale. I'm trying to clear out my closet. Mm-hmm. Or do I come forth and say, these are my shirts, and risk that some creep is going to buy them?
I think the creeps are the least of your problems, John.
Just so they can like wallow in the musk.
I have two contradictory answers. First of all, if you are going to sell them on the internet, it's got to be made clear that it's John Roderick. But my advice to you is to not. We'll cut all of this out. Do not sell it. Can I say 3 letters DNA? Somebody goes out and they buy a known John Roderick Musk shirt, and there's going to be, I know you're not a danderous person, but there's going to have to be a little bit of dander. Unless you go in and do a full-on lice treatment type situation and comb it carefully and get a Helmac, there's going to be a little bit of John on there.
Now, my washing machine has a sanitize setting. Ooh. What if I sanitized it?
What the fuck does that mean? It's not just hot. Does it shoot some kind of jizzy sanitizing liquid? Like,
I've never used it. It's one of these fancy washing machines, and it has sanitize.
You should do an A/B test. You should rip a shirt in half, sanitize it, and see what happens.
I'm thinking it might be a centrifuge that I can use to make some uranium-235.
Make some sparks.
236. Whatever it takes.
Whatever. Oh, so many. I like Darth of options.